4 or 5 committees and county fund meetings today. So we got a little backed up. Rules met at 8:15 and they're just wrapping up. So we are going to get started with our board meeting for today's date, March 28th. And I will call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners Wooden.
Present.
Womack.
Present.
Voorhees.
Present.
Monk.
Here.
Fallon.
Here.
Vice Chair Steck.
Here.
Commissioners Sparks.
Present.
Skaggs. Saalfeld.
Here.
Ponstein.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Melton.
Here.
Kallman.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Hennessy. Bulkowski. Breavy.
Here.
Antor.
Here.
Chair Bolter.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have 16 members present, 3 absent. You have a quorum.
Great. I will call on Commissioner Morgan for our invocation today.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you? Hey, it's my pleasure to introduce to you and some of the new members, Doug Sport. Doug is the Deputy Drain Commissioner. He's been with us 19 years. He is retired out of the Army Reserve. He was a chaplain. He achieved the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Very proud to have him. Worked with him. Great guy. And I told him it was a 3-minute prayer today. He set aside an hour to pray for me. I said, no, it's the invocation for the commission. So he did change it. So here's Doug.
Let's pray. Lord God, creator of universe, the earth, we thank you for the privilege of living in this great nation. And may what we do here today be pleasing to you. Remind us, Lord, that we are working for the well-being of those we serve. Guide us as we make our decisions. Some of them are obvious, some are difficult. We look to you for wisdom. I pray your blessing on the staff of the county, that you'll make their work pleasurable and that we will support them. And I think of the sheriff's deputies that are on patrol. Keep them from harm's way. And Lord, may your unfailing love rest upon us, even as we put our hope in you. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much for that great prayer. Thank you, Commissioner Morgan. All right, we are on to item 5, special order of business. I do know we have a couple members in the audience for public comment, and we will, that is item 6. So as soon as we're done with our Drain Commissioner report, we will be bringing up public comment. So, Mr. Drain Commissioner, floor is yours. 15-minute presentation, or shorter.
Well, if we can do it, and seeing Doug didn't use his whole hour, maybe I can take some of his time. Thank you, Madam Chair and the Board of Commissioners. I won't say it's a privilege to be here to report to you again, because it's one of those things you do, but I wouldn't say I'm excited about it. But it is good to see you and give you an update what's been going on in the Drain Commission. You have a packet with you that gives details. I'm not going to go through all the details, but you know the Drain Commission office runs under the jurisdiction of the Michigan Drain Code of 1956. That is a law that was put into place that everything we do has to align to. And that is a lot. It's a very detailed law, but it's a good law, I think. The key thing to that code that a lot of people don't understand is that we don't have a budget that we work from to maintain drains. It's a user fee system. Probably one of the I believe it's one of the fairest ways to get the service done on these drains. When the work has to be done, the people in the district pay for the service of their drain. And it's pretty fair. And they pay for what they use, and it works very well. So our drain office is made up of 5 staff that oversees over 600 or approximately 600 miles of drain. And we have several hundred retention ponds and lake levels. And in that commission is my deputy, Doug Sport. You've met him. And Doug his responsibilities fall a lot under the legal side of how our office runs. He sets up all the board of determinations, puts all those together, and right now he's got a lot of those. He does all the boundary review committees. He does all the assessment review reports for the people, and sets those meetings up. And then Brad Boomstra, who was my civil engineer, number 2. He's our senior civil engineer, very talented engineer at that. In my career path, I've worked with a lot of civil engineers in my field, and there's civil engineers that come out of school book smart, and there's civil engineers that actually have life that they apply to the book smart, and that's Brad Boomstra. He's got a lot of common sense and very pleasurable to work with. In his role, he oversees all the permit requests that come to our office. Anytime anybody has to run a pipe or a wire or any kind of structure through our drain, he reviews those permits. He does inspections on, we have several dams we have to keep inspected and maintained, and he is in charge of taking care of all of that type of thing as well. And then, of course, when I do the inspections that are asked by the people in the county, some of these we can just take care of. They're quite simple, but some of them get quite involved. There's a lot of grade change. There's a lot of stability that has to be put in place to stop erosion. And that's where Brad takes them, and he does the engineering and gets the bids and inspections as they get done. More complicated things he takes over from me. And then we have Angie Levitas, another very talented and bright engineer, and she does all the reviews of all the retention and detention ponds in this county that are being developed. They have to meet our standard, and she is very thorough and very impressive to see the work she does. One of the things I'm very confident in is in the past couple of years, we've had several ponds from that are 10, 15 years old have totally failed. They get to be very expensive to have to replace and repair. And these are things that Angie knows what to look for that cause problems for these ponds in the future. And we won't see a repeat of a lot of the errors of the past moving forward. And that makes me feel good. And then we have Lonnie Brown, and she's our overall office organizer. She does all our accounting. We have 625 drains. Those are all separate businesses. She has to do all the counting and record keeping for those, and all the reports have to be reported to the county monthly and annually. So she's got a pretty big job, and I appreciate all the staff that you guys have hired to help me do my job. The mission statement for the Drain Commission, I just want to read the first paragraph. The mission of the Kent County Drain Commissioner's Office is to improve and maintain stormwater drainage for the public health, safety, and convenience and welfare of the citizens of Kent County, and also to be an effective and efficient steward of our natural and fiscal resources. We adhere to that a lot. We refer back to it when we're looking at drains or requests from people that may be borderline. Is this actually the Drain Commissioner's responsibility or is it not? That's a pretty good guide that keeps us out of trouble, and it aligns well with the drain code. I want to go through a few of the accomplishments that we worked through this year. These are just some of the bigger ones. A lot of people will ask me, how many miles of drain do you maintain in a year? Well, that's a hard thing to answer because a lot of times they're just little sections here and there. Well, one of those little sections could cost $60,000 to fix, and then I could do 7 miles of drain that costs us $60,000 to maintain. So it's quite different on how to say that, but I did a rough calculation, actually, how many miles we worked on, and we did 16 miles this year. Now, last year, I took a rough look at it, and we did like 4, but the projects were bigger within that 4, but we accomplished 16 miles this year. We work with approximately 6 contractors that we bid the work out to. We don't do any of it ourselves. We facilitate. The 5 of us handle the work that has to be done, what it looks like, and then the inspections and the bidding, and that's pretty much how we work from our office. A couple of the bigger jobs, we had 1 mile of pipe in the Johnson Godfrey drain, which is in Bowen Township. We replaced that. A lot of our infrastructure is clay tile. Our tractors are heavier in these fields, and they're crushing them. And we have a lot of tile, a lot of drains to replace like that, but they're very costly. This was approximately $300,000 job. We've been patching it. Bill did a lot of patching on this drain. This year, the farmers were sick and tired of being sick and tired, as I say, and they petitioned us to just go in and bite the bullet and redo it. So we ended up replacing 1 mile of concrete tile in this drainage district, and these farmers will be are being assessed for the total cost, and it's not cheap for them. It's a big investment. We completed the scanning and digitizing of all the documents in our office. Our office now, there is not a file cabinet in our offices anymore. They are gone. The old records have all been recycled. So we are totally electronic, and talking for myself, and I think my staff is adjusted. I love it. It is the best thing that ever happened, and efficiencies that we picked up by going that route. It's been very good. We've just begun last year the process of inspecting 1,100 of our storm inlets, and these are all the drains that run through these plats in the backyards for drainage. We are required by law to go through all of those every 20 years, and my time is clicking down, and we're just getting started. We'll have an intern this year that will put on this full time to see if we can get these done in the next 4 years. Inspecting them is one step of the process. The other process is you find a lot of them that were not put in properly, and they're sucking sand and dirt between the pipe and the catch basins, which puts a lot of sediment in our storm system. We then have to dig these pipes up. We got to repair them, and then we have to have a vacuum truck come in, suck the sumps out, clean the dirt out, and the pipe if there's a lot of dirt that went downstream. So you may all hear from people in your districts that have these newer plats with these drainage. We will be in those yards, and we will be working on those, and they're not all going to be happy. And what we're finding is in the easement area, we're having people that have built sheds. They planted gardens, they planted trees. Well, those are easements for us, and they are not allowed to put that stuff in those easements. Creates controversy. And I become the bad guy because we're going to dig them up. We have to by law. And whatever's in the way, we give them the time to move them. But if they're there when the contractor gets there, they get dug up. The job has to be done, has to be corrected. So you may hear some of that. I do make a practice of working with the people. One thing I really value is property rights, and this is their property. But at the same time, that drainage, if it wasn't there, their sump pumps would back up, their houses would flood, and the whole community in that district would be affected. So for the better of the community, sometimes you just got to make the hard call and make people upset. So we'll be seeing a lot more of that in the next few years. We have successfully completed the audit with the DEQ to keep our soil erosion and sedimentation control program in place. This is a huge asset for our office to have this. It allows us to have a great partnership with the DEQ, and it keeps us from having to pull permits every time we work on a drain. So this is a big deal. Brad kind of takes a lead on that, and And it keeps us as a partnership of the DEQ. And to this day, I have not had any conflict working with the DEQ. We've established a user-friendly accounting program with the help of Plant Moran. And what this has done is taken the 360 program, and which didn't adapt and fit into our accounting system of 625 different businesses. And it was very time consuming for Lonnie when she would have to do her monthly and especially annual reports. She would be hours and hours trying to get all this information together. Well, with the support of Steve Dorte and Plant Moran, they had a representative come in and spent probably about 6 months with us. And today we have a system where, as an example, when it would take Doug 2 to 3 days to do an assessment roll, anytime we had to do a mailing, we cut that down to 1 day. Lonnie, she would spend 2 weeks working on reports. She can get it done in 2 to 3 days with this new accounting system. It was expensive. I want to thank you all for what you have done in supporting us get this done. It's really helped us along. So moving on, for the sake of time, we work under funding. Our drains run under different chapters. We've got Chapter 4 drains. These are drains that are assessed directly to the homeowner, and the county has a percentage and the road commission has a percentage. Those are the more common drains. We assessed last year 14,388 properties under the Chapter 4 drains. Chapter 5 and 6 drains, those are another funding. Those are inter-county drains, where we have drains we share with Ottawa County, Ionia, Barrie, and Allegan County, several drains that cross county lines, and those are funded a little differently. Here's we have a picture in there of a project we had where a retaining wall was put in. This one is in Byron Township, and the wall was put in 4 years later. It was tipping over, so we had to rebuild it under an engineered system, so we wouldn't have that. Now that's paid through the inter-county, which is broken up over a very large district. Then we have our Chapter 20 drains, and those are where it's paid directly by the municipality in which we're working. It's an agreement with the cities. We have City of Grand Rapids, Kentwood, Granville, Wyoming, Walker, that a lot of the work we do in those city areas on our drains, they pay it directly. And it comes from the people's property tax. We don't assess the people directly. We have lake levels that we have to oversee. There's several lakes in the county that are set by court what the level should be, and we have to assess the maintenance and the inspection time that has to be done on those, and we assess 386 properties for that type of service. And then we have our drain assessment report. This year we've assessed $457,000, roughly $458,000 in drain services. We currently have $460,000 in drain projects that are in the process. Some of these are older that are being carried forward. Some of them are current. There's a big spread. A lot of these assessments will go for 4 years. Drain activity gives you a rough idea that we've done actual drain activity this year with $276,000. And then at the end, I include the letters that we've gotten from people in the district that have been pleased with the action and the service from the drain office. We get a lot of calls where people ask us for inspection for services. I don't see them necessarily as complaints, but service requests. I've never gotten in our office a letter from someone that was unhappy on how the office dealt with them or did the project. But I have received letters where people were happy with the service from our office, and those I included so you can get a feel and that our office takes great pride in, because that's what we strive for. So with that, if there's any questions, I'd be willing to answer.
Thank you, Drain Commissioner Yonker. Do we have any questions today? Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Ken. We have the pleasure of serving on a few boards together by our positions. We have our boards in Grattan, where we sit on 2 lake boards. We have the Drainage Board by position for Finance Chair, and Mandy also is Board Chair. Can we spend just a moment looking at the Knapp's Corner
Just an update.
Sure.
budget item and give that a little bit of a highlight in a minute for the rest of the board? Because we've been spending quite a bit of time on that and discussion items.
Hey, can you just give like a quick,
Right.
Yeah.
here's what
'cause
happened,
that-
here's where
that's-
we're, yeah,
that's a
because we have a
long-
lot of new
Yes.
members who don't,
Yeah.
who that didn't carry over into, this term. So
All right, so Knapp's Corner is on the corner of Knapp Street and East Beltline. It's that big commercial development on all 4 corners, Myers, Celebration, and then we have Spartan Nash in that area. And what progressed through the years is, instead of each one having their own retention area for the stormwater from their parking lots, that whole area floods in, drains into one regional pond. And the pond was supposed to handle so much water, infiltrate down into the ground, it's all sandy, but the engineering was faulty and it never happened. We've spent a lot of time maintaining that thing to try to keep infiltration, but it's not going to happen. So my predecessor, Bill Bile, they put in a temporary fix of a force main that then when the pond fills up, we got to kick that pump in and then pump the water to the low area behind the new courthouse out there on East Beltline, and then it proceeds down through a private property, then eventually gets to the Grand River. This has been a real problem because what happened is in the winter, the amount of sodium chloride that's put on these lots went into that pond, it did soak in, and then it eventually found its way to the aquifers, which has made all the wells on Dunnigan Street salty. So last year, we completed a project of putting city water in, so these people have fresh water, but we still have the issue of putting sodium water into our aquifers. But that's not here alone, this is county statewide. That's an issue that's near and dear to me. I am continuing to work on it along with several people in the city and countywide. But for now, we have good water to these homes. We also have a volume issue. This pond will not handle the volume it was supposedly engineered to handle. If we don't pump this pond, it floods over the spillway, which goes into basements of the houses around it. It does not drain properly. It never has. So I can't let it go over the spillway. We got to pump it over to the pond. In the middle of the winter, because our weather's changing, we actually had to pump it this winter. Instead of snow, we get rain. Now, this pump is not a cold weather pump, so it's very difficult to get that thing to kick in. So after 5 hours of working on it, I finally got it to go, but we're within 2 foot of flooding over the floodway, which would have flooded homes in the middle of February. So we have to come up with a plan to handle the volume of this water, so it fits the legal requirement that we're under to handle this. So we had a meeting yesterday, and I think we're on our way to a final conclusion with the 4 big property owners. And I'm looking forward to, by the end of this year, to be ready to move forward with a final plan, engineered plan, either late fall or next spring, whatever it's going to be, to start construction on, manage whatever we got to do to manage the volume of the water in that corner.
Commissioner Jones has a follow-up.
And just the salt piece, that is within safety ranges, right? There's no health risk there.
No, at this point, the DEQ has not, or the EPA has not put sodium chloride as a hazardous material. It's a aesthetic issue. Personally, that's going to change. I don't see that staying that way. But in my conversations with Luis, he's the director of Kent County DEQ, you know, they're under the pressure of what do we do if we make this worse to make safe road conditions, safe parking lot conditions. So we have a lot of work as a society, how we're going to continue to handle our winter icy parking lots and roadways and our Great Lakes. There is some legislation in New Hampshire that I'm familiar with. I'm meeting with Senator McGregor tomorrow to discuss this and see if we can get this implemented in Michigan, which will help. It's one step.
Well, Ken, just thank you very much. I really do appreciate your engaging. You are on top of all of this, and you are present and engaged, and I'm really glad that you are sitting in the Drain Commissioner spot, so thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, our whole concern is just making sure that people have clean water.
Yeah.
And so really appreciate all the collaborative effort you did to get them on city water, and the township did great work, the city did great work, and obviously clean water is an essential piece to everything, so really appreciate that. Commissioner Antor.
Thank you. Good morning, Ken.
Morning.
I think about 2 weeks ago on the news, I saw a story where we're talking about lake levels, where one lake was flooding out the residents. They couldn't open up the drain because of invasive species in that lake, and they didn't want to release it down to the next lake. Do we have any scenarios like that? They're waiting on a big filter that they have to apply, and it's going to be several months before they get that.
We don't have that in Kent County, although we do have a lake like Berry has where we're getting a lot of reports this week where the lake level is getting quite high and there's no outlet for it. So it's going to be up to them. There is a way we can fix that, but it's going to be probably a $2 million project. So, and again, that's going to be up to them to petition me to go that direction, and then they got to be willing to pay for it. So that'll be, see where they're at on that. But outside of that, we don't have.
We have lakes that are chained together, but not with an invasive species problem in one.
No report, Doug. No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for our Drain Commissioner today? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Drain Commissioner Yonker. All right, on to item 6, public comment. I see Julie. Come on up. Now you know so much about drains, right?
Every week, it's something new.
Yeah, you're
Learned about budgets and airports and all kinds of stuff. My name is Julie Steffen. I still live at 1731 Woodworth, and I am still by the Plainfield Mire. I am still a Pittsville advocate, and I had a whole thing today to talk about money and how private rescues like mine can help fundraise for the shelter and all kinds of stuff. I'm going to save that for another day because I have awesome things to talk about that are positive. Yay! Okay, so I'm in bed last night. I'm in my jammies, laying in my bed last night, and I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I pull up the shelters page. And I see about 3 posts down, there's a dog named Barry. You guys can find this, when you're out of here. But this little itty-bitty pitty named Barry, and the shelter let Barry go on a home visit. They let Barry go out on the weekend with one of their volunteers to this woman's home, to her farm, to get out of the shelter. This has never happened. Nothing like this has ever happened in my year of being in the shelter space about everything. I have never seen anything like this happen. This is so great for so many reasons, and I don't have time to talk about them all now, but as I talked about the first week that I was here, a dog in the shelter, their behavior is going to be completely different than a dog outside of the shelter. So by bringing this dog out of the shelter, one, you're going to release shelter stress on the dog, which is great, but also that volunteer now knows that dog in a home environment. So what does that dog need? So this volunteer posted on the Kent County page that Barry is going to need several days to warm up, that Barry loves playing outside, gets along with all species of animals because the sleepover was at a farm, and the shelter isn't Barry's favorite place, but I'm trying really, really hard to be good. Will someone take a chance on me? And there's pictures of Barry at this person's farm. There's a picture of like little chickens, and Barry's tied to a lead in the background. This volunteer posted all these pictures. Her name is Noe Chavez on Facebook, and you can scroll down, you can see all of this, but she's got pictures of Barry in a bed. This is amazing. This is the kind of stuff that should have been happening for the last 10 years, and it's just baffling to me why this kind of stuff wasn't happening. And hopefully going forward, this will continue to happen. it could work with shelter volunteers, it could work with rescues, and eventually, hopefully, there's no reason to have any dogs in the shelter at all. You have them all outside of the shelter and home environments through a foster program, and then these dogs are much more adoptable, and it's just gonna be a win-win for everybody. So I'm so pleased about this. It's all I can do not to do cartwheels in the middle of your floor. This is a wonderful thing. So please hop on Facebook. I'm assuming you all are Facebook people. Probably all the time? Yeah, okay. So you can look on the shelters page and you'll see this, and it's really a truly wonderful thing. I got a great idea from Commissioner Morgan. Next meeting I'll present on pit bulls and how raising them and working with them can lead to either aggression or wonderful home, beautiful bed hogs like the ones that I know and love. So I will present on that next commission. I will see you guys all then.
Thanks, Julie. Anyone else for public comment? No, he's our money guy. He's good. He's good.
Hi, I'm Liz Vanderwall. I live at 17555 Forest Hill. I'm also an animal advocate here in Grand Rapids, and I'm very happy to hear some of the positive changes that are happening at the animal shelter. But one of the things I wanted to point out was I was reviewing the guidelines online that are under the health department, and those guidelines for animal control regulation have not been updated since 2002. So particularly, I'd really like to see those reviews, maybe adding some additional language in there on protecting animals when it's extremely cold. People are still leaving their dogs outside with what is considered a three-sided shelter. So I just would like for you to consider revising those rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Any other public comment today? Two new guys back there want to come up. Are you guys good?
All right, you talked me into it, Madam Chair. My name is Ryan Bennett. I'm the Business Manager, Financial Secretary, Treasurer of West Michigan Plumbers, Fitters, and Service Trades Local Union 174. Now, what that leads to is very small font on a business card. What that means is we represent over 1,000 plumbers, fitters, and HVAC professionals throughout West Michigan, throughout 12 counties, working through over 40 signatory contractors. And we've had a presence here in West Michigan since 1891. The first Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union was established here in Grand Rapids in Kent County when two plumbers got together over 125 years ago and started talking, well, that's the math's wrong on that. 1891, we'll just stick with the facts. Two plumbers got together and started talking about what they should charge for their services. And that's how we were born. We merged with another local in Muskegon. That was founded in 1900. So we've been around the community for quite a long time. Our facility, you probably drive past it on 96 all the time. We're right there at exit 16 in Coopersville. We're very proud, 100% privately funded higher education skilled trades training center. We have over 100 apprentices at any given time training at our facility. Their education is comprised of 840 classroom hours and 8,500 work hours, working hand in hand with journeymen, men and women throughout West Michigan through the course of that 5-year program. I'd like to invite you all to our facility. We will be hosting the Michigan State Pipe Trades Apprentice Contest May 1st and 2nd out at that facility, where we will have apprentices and professionals in plumbing, welding, pipe fitting, and HVAC service competing in a statewide competition at our facility during those days. So please stop out. Thank you for your time and thank you for the invite.
Yep. Thanks for coming to our committee meeting today. Any other public comment today? All right, seeing none, we are going to move on to item 7, consent agenda, and I'll call in Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move the minutes of March 14th. Support.
Moved by Commissioner Morgan, support by Commissioner Jones. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, this is a roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt the consent agenda, Commissioners Wooden.
Yes.
Womack.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Vonk.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck.
Yes.
Commissioners Sparks.
Yes.
Skaggs.
Yes.
Salfeld.
Yes.
Ponstein.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hennessy. Bulkowski. Breivy.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays, 2 not voting. The motion passes. The consent agenda is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On to item 8, resolutions, and Commissioner Melton, you will be busy today because you're on all of these. I call on Commissioner Melton for Resolution A.
Thank you, Chair. I move Resolution 328-1921, Legislative and Human Resources for our legislative priorities that's coming out.
All right, moved by Commissioner Melton. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Steck. Questions or comments? This is for me. Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. During the discussion at Legislative Committee, I expressed a number of concerns about, the marijuana priority, recreational marijuana. Voted against the priorities at that point, but have had some conversations with Chair Steck since then, and would like to move some revised language for that position.
That's this
And
language.
you should all have that in front of
Yep.
you. So I'd move to amend
Okay.
according to the revised position on the document that's been handed out.
Okay, we have a motion to amend the legislative priorities by Commissioner Talon,
I will second that.
second by Commissioner Steck. Questions or comments on this amendment? You all have it in front of you. Commissioner Morgan.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Item C in the revised plan, it says maintaining current statutory provisions for the marijuana use in the workplace. That's before the legalization, or is that the old statute or the new statute?
Commissioner Linda, do you want to speak to that?
The current statute, after the proposal, contains language that allows employers to maintain a drug-free workplace and other employee protections.
That's
So
great.
this is to maintain that language.
Okay, great.
Any other questions or comments on the amendment? All right, seeing none, this is not a roll call. All in favor of the revised language, please say aye. Aye. Oh,
We didn't vote on the amendment?
what do we?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, I'm sorry.
Okay, all opposed to the amendment?
Forgive me, point of order. Did anyone second his motion?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize, Vice Chair Sack.
Okay. So, amendment moved by Commissioner Talon, seconded by Commissioner Steck. On the proposed amendment, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Amendment passes. Now we are back to the resolutions. Do we have to have a new?
No, it's on the table.
Okay, so we're back to the original resolution as amended. All in favor of the Commissioner Melton?
For comment, I want to clarify that we were a very small group on Tuesday, and I left feeling confused and, I don't want to say frustrated, it seemed to me that when we had our work session, it somehow seemed much more clear, and with some of the comments that were made or questions that were made, and then certainly when Commissioner Ponstein said that, maybe some of these don't even have any relevancy whatsoever because we can always jiggle them around or move them around. I voted no on Tuesday because of those reasons. It's very difficult for me to support something that doesn't seem clear, and when I did ask for some clarification, and rightfully so, it was not something that was readily available to Linda or to Wayman at that time. So I will be voting yes, I will be supporting this, but that was my position on Tuesday, just really voting on something that seemed to be a moving target, and I didn't want to be part of that.
Thank you. Commissioner Saalfeld.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment that I was happy to see the changes made to the lead and the PFAS priorities as it relates to the point I made during the work session that the county, that makes it clear that any funding for remediation has to come from state or federal sources as opposed to the county, since we've not been vested with either the obligation or the funds to do remediation. So I just want to thank the staff or whatever, whoever made those changes to those two priorities. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Steck?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of comments. First, underscoring that the document that we have before us is the product of what I call drafting by committee. And when you draft by committee, you inevitably get some some disjunctiveness in the drafting, and so I would simply ask my colleagues to accept that's a reality when this is the way the document's generated. Also, underscore that this is a living document. It is not intended to be the last say-so on all of these issues. We will continue to learn more. We'll continue to develop more, and it is certainly possible, in fact, probable, that we'll see some modifications over the course of the next year. And then last, just to identify that there are some issues that were not yet ripe for a full statement, but we did identify them at the end of the, I'm not sure what page it's on. Page 12. Page 12, that there are some significant important issues that we are continuing to take a look at and anticipate that we'll be able to deal with that with some kind of statement proposal later on.
All right, thank you, Chair Steck. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to touch base because when we had our work session, we did have public comment there, and we don't get that very often. So I just wanted to bring it up here for the record that we did have public comment there discussing and supporting that raise the age piece. And I just thought that was worth noting because they took the time out of their schedule to come, and I think it's important for us to recognize that. And then I'd also like to add the focus on this 911 surcharge transparency, which I know has been on the list since I've showed up. I think it's been on the list even longer than that. And I've been here 5 years. And I understand the challenges with that, but I would like us to continue to go forward on that because it makes a lot of sense. And I think that this is an area where government can do better, where we can find a way to make this happen. And I would like to continue this discussion. And Chair Steck, if we go and look at legal options, I wouldn't mind seeing those in front of us at some point if that's where we have to go. So I think this is a piece that we can be a leader and not a follower on. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments? Commissioner Womack.
I'm just glad to see in our priorities that we have the lead abatement, with Kent County urging Michigan legislature to appropriate additional funding for lead outreach, education, inspection, and abatement to address the problem of lead exposure. And I'm also proud that Kent County has taken the position to raise the age from 17 to 18-year-olds for offenders, which would put our 17 years old in a juvenile system, because I believe once people, I don't want to say I believe, I have the experience to understand as an adult, when you're incarcerated, it's more like a warehouse. There isn't as much rehabilitation as there should be. But also once being a ward of the juvenile court, I understand at the juvenile level, it gives you a chance to get the counseling, it gives you a chance to get in contact with organizations that can help a juvenile that may be going through homelessness or not have the parental supervision that they need. So I'm very proud of Kent County's position on that to help these minors.
Any other comments? Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to note that my participation on 2 MAC committees, which are also dealing with these legislative priorities, has been very helpful, both in me learning some things that I could take back here, but also things that we talk about here that are helpful to take back to MAC. So I want to encourage my colleagues, if there are particular priorities here that you're interested in, there are MAC committees that I think the more folks we have from Kent County serving on those committees, the better off both MAC and Kent County will be in affecting what happens in the legislature. Thank you.
Agreed. Commissioner Wooden.
I just want to echo the sentiments that have been said previously by all members on Raise the Age. You know, I'll admit, if I had written this individually, as Commissioner Steck mentioned, writing something by committee creates disjunctiveness. I would have possibly strengthened the top paragraph. You know, instead of saying supports the concept of increasing the maximum age of juvenile court jurisdiction from 17 to 18, just remove the concept and then follow the sentence by saying that we have to have these issues addressed in the proposed legislation. That being said, I still think it's, you know, it's not a hill worth, it's not something worth scrapping the entire thing for, but I just want to echo the sentiments said, and I hope that we can take as affirmative stance as possible as the legislation is drafting, so that we can help ensure that a resolution is made that's beneficial to the county and to the people we serve in this county.
Great. Any other comments? All right, I just had a couple, appreciate all the work by Commissioner Steck, and again, I am all about process improvement. So when commissioners are saying they don't understand the process or they haven't had time, you know, we do have a timeline. I will work, as Commissioner Skaggs gave me a great suggestion, to try to provide better and more clear deadlines for people. So we're all busy, we all have different jobs, and I think if we can try to do that and give everyone more clear timelines, that's helpful. But we also are up against a legislative clock. And so when we come in January and we get this process going beginning of February, it is kind of a tight timeline, but it's because we need to get those priorities to the legislature if we expect them to work on them. They're not there all the time. There's a lot of breaks, and we really need to get those in. So it is a tight timeline. Now that we're all here and we've done it once as this body, next year might be a little smoother, but we do need you to send in that input, and I do think it's important that you understand the process. And I do also think that, you know, come to people before the board meetings to get that clarity, because we just want to proceed. And like Commissioner Steck said, these are not carved in stone. They're going to change. We could wordsmith it for 4 more months, but we need to move forward. So I think this is basically a document to just provide to the legislators. These are the items on our radar. You know, we could spend time on the details, but I think we just need to continue to be moving forward. So with that, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. On to Resolution B. I'll call on Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. I move to Resolution 328-1922 to fill vacancies on the Community Mental Health Authority Board, and also on the Corrections Board.
Moved by Commissioner Melton.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments on this issue? All right. Seeing none, this is not a roll call vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. On to item C, Commissioner Melton.
Resolution, I move to Resolution 328-1923, the KCCA requesting a full-time community resource specialist.
Moved by Commissioner Melton.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Sparks. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. On to item D, Commissioner Melton.
And I move for Resolution 328-1924, Emergency Management part for the sheriff requesting to convert the Emergency Preparedness Program Specialist position.
Moved by Commissioner Melton, support by Commissioner Sparks. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and sorry to disrupt our flow for getting the class for a while. I am seeing the first paragraph, emergency management is transitioning from a contracted service to an in-house function of the sheriff's office. Could the sheriff just provide a little explanation of that? Sure, I should have warned you ahead of time.
That's okay. Yeah, and so this has kind of been, we're going back to the way things used to be. I don't know if you guys, some of you have been here long enough. In the 2008, 9, and 10 years, we had pretty substantial budget cuts. As a cost-saving measure, we transitioned to a contract service, and it actually was with one of our own retirees who came back and completed the service. He is now retiring for good. And with that transition, I believe it is a more substantial program and a better served program to bring it back under the supervision, which gives us the ability to backfill more effectively, train. Part of that is this person. She was a subcontractor under his contract. Same person's going to be doing it, and she'll be brought back to full-time employment, which is probably more in line with the IRS rules that are now in place as we move forward.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions or comments on this resolution? All right, seeing none, this is not a roll call vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. We are now on to item 9, 1-minute public comment. Do I have 1-minute public comment today? Do you want to come up? You good? All right. No public comment. On to item 10, reports. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I have a few reports. We had the Kent County Parks Foundation breakfast yesterday. Thank you to a few fellow commissioners who were able to make it. And it was a room filled at the Everhart, and I think this is, again, a great example of our collaboration between public and between our municipalities and the private sector. Money was raised, a lot of information was shared. You all received an email on the volunteer opportunities that the parks have, and it was a very well-attended event, and I think it's, again, a great example of where we have county government services that members of the public feel strongly about and are willing and able to contribute individually above and beyond what their taxpayer dollars offer to help support a government-owned function like our parks. So I think this is, like I said, a great model for other programs that might want more funding, and it's certainly something that is an option. With that being said, I lead into Experience Grand Rapids. They had their annual meeting and tourism forum. I was there last night along with some other commissioners, so thank you, Commissioner Sparks and Commissioner Ponstein, for taking time out of your schedule to come to that as well. Just a handful of highlights. I was there for hours. We're not going to talk about the hours. I just wanted to say it was some facts that jumped out at me. They have $1.3 billion in visitor spending in 2017. I mean, that's 1.3 billion with a B, not an M, a B. So I think the importance of this organization continues to impact our community in a very positive way, and they continue to do great work. Restaurant Week will be coming up August 7th through the 18th, something I think a lot of folks look forward to. The last thing I just want to highlight that you may not know about is there's a Culture Pass. You can buy a 3-day pass for $24 that allows you to see attractions in the community, and 12% of those purchases are from Kent County, which I think is a great number because it shows that those visiting are accessing that Culture Pass, while just a smaller amount of residents do know about it and use it as well. So those are the highlights from that. Like I said, it was a significant amount of time with lots of great presentations, but I just thought those were things worth mentioning.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two reports this morning, if it's okay with the chair. So,
yeah, please.
I'd like to start out with the airport. February over February last year, we're up 8%, so that's a good thing. And we have completed our master plan. We've submitted it to the FAA. And I just wanted to kind of review the projects that are going on at the airport or plan to go on at the airport through 2024. The first is the completion in 2020 of the second phase of the Gateway transition, and that's the front door of the terminal. It's a $20 million project. We're working on a new tower because everybody knows we have the oldest tower in the country. That's a $45 million project. And then we're working on completing the terminal apron project, which is another $20 million project. We're replacing the concrete around the terminal for the planes. It's been there since 1963. Shows that we take care of our stuff, but it needed to be replaced. That should be done by 2020. And we're also looking at adding some gates if we continue to grow. Very, very cautiously adding some gates, and that could be up to a $90 million project through 2024. So Ted's going to be busy this year trying to find all that money, but we do have a plan, and we're going to work our plan. So things are going well at the Ford. We do have a consultant in place, Korn Ferry. They've started the recruitment process for our new CEO. We're very excited about starting the program and look forward to filling that position. And I'd like to move on to my second report.
Yeah.
I'm pretty long-winded for me.
Usually showing me your watch, like.
Yeah. I attended a proof of concepts meeting. It's a new committee that have been put on, and Tim Kelly from the DRG and a few other folks, Floyd Wilson Nelson, myself, Steve Heacock, well, no, not yet. So we're looking at a new convention center hotel and the concept of that downtown. We've had one meeting. We're also revisiting the concept of an amphitheater somewhere downtown, I think. So I do have some cliff notes that I put together, or had put together, and with permission of the chair, can I send that to Wayman and send it out so everybody's right up to speed on where I'm at and where the committee is, because I think it's an important committee. And I just want to keep everybody really informed on where that's going, because it seems to be moving at a breakneck pace. Our next meeting is April 10th, and so I'll have more then, but I'd like to send that information to Wayman for distribution to the to my fellow commissioners.
Thank you. And thank you for serving on that. I appointed Commissioner Morgan because I knew he had great context on the history of the convention center, and, you know, he has a good skill set, so thank you.
More than I want.
Any other commissioner reports today? Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. I attended my first KCCAC meeting. It actually turned out that it was strategic planning, so welcome to the committee by trial by fire. There were many things that happened, but one in particular that, again, Chair, with your permission, I agree with, or I'm going the same route as, because I didn't know how I was going to ask this as Commissioner Morgan. There was a questionnaire that they really worked through very, very carefully with all the persons that were there, that goes out to, they do it every 5 years, that goes out to their population, which tends to be the lower income population. And I actually took the time to suggest that that's a questionnaire that I think many of us should take, but I really think that we commissioners should see what it is that some of these people, many of our constituents, are facing, because some of the questions were really, really eye-opening. So with your permission, Susan Cervantes said that she would forward it. Sure. Well, if I can get her to do it, I'll have her forward it right away, because it has a much better chance of making it correctly. Okay. But if it comes to me, I will send it. Obviously, no one has to take it, but if you want to, I would really encourage you, because there are questions on there that absolutely, in a course of a day, don't go across my radar at all. And it made me leave there, A, very humble, B, just very, very sorry that I take too many things for granted. So if that's all right, that's what I'd like to do.
Please. Thank you. Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. Just two quick things. First, I always wait until after the airport report before I report on the community mental health funding, just so we can balance ourselves out a little bit. So acknowledge you on the 8% growth. I wish I could say the same about our funding, but it actually probably is dollar for service down again this year. So those challenges continue to face us. And then the second issue is just to remind folks that we approved the state legislative priorities today. There's another document that was distributed at the LHR. It's the federal legislative priorities. We're going to be moving relatively quickly with that process. We'd like to have that approved near the end of April. So certainly encourage you to look at it. Those of you who haven't seen it, find a copy of it. And if you have questions or need to discuss it, please contact me.
All right, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually only have one thing to report on. The Grand Valley Metro Council's Transportation Policy Committee met. The major items that they discussed, one was an updated review and approval of amendment to the Rapids section of the plan, specifically focusing on the Silver Line, trying to see how they can co-opt land use plan or develop a greater land use plan in concurrence with the cities that make up the Silver Line to encourage more economic growth along that line. Additionally, there was an air quality conformity resolution of support. But lastly, the largest portion of the meeting was an update from MDOT on the state long-range transportation plan, which I can send to Wayman. There is a survey if you all are interested in taking it to help MDOT make long-range plans for the state transportation system.
Thank you. Any other commissioner reports? All right. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Sparks, I didn't see you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to give a report Yesterday, we had a very inspirational meeting with the Sheriff's Department, the Hispanic Chamber, Commissioner Talon, Commissioner Womack, and Commissioner Anter, myself, just to try to open up the floodgates and try to talk about immigration. And our county administrator was there, as well as our communications chair, Lori. So it was very eye-opening. It was a great conversation. Everyone was positive. It was just, I think we're going to get somewhere in Kent County, and I'm very encouraged by our meeting yesterday.
Thank you, and thank you for serving on that, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I know it was just yesterday, so thank you so much for that. Any other reports before we move on to miscellaneous? All right, seeing none, Commissioner Miscellaneous, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to, I know April's schedule for the Finance Committee is a little bit unusual with spring break in the mix, so the meetings for that are April 9th and April 16th. So there are 2 Finance Committee meetings that are back-to-back. And then I wanted to have everyone pencil in May 9th for a budget boot camp between 3 and 5 o'clock, which is prior to our evening meeting. It would be great to have everyone attend. I think we'll get a lot out of that. We'll be focusing on a number of items, including some historical information on the fund balance, which I think is important to have surface, because I think we do have some new folks who just don't have some history, and we're going to grab this opportunity to add a little bit more history to our budget pieces and dive into areas we haven't had time to dive into. So I hope everyone can pencil that in on the 9th, and that's what I had for miscellaneous.
Thank you. Commissioner Breeby.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to just inform everyone about a new app. There's an app for everything. There really is now. The Kent County Sheriff's Office recently has an app that you can do a whole host of things. I was looking into it this morning, and you can download it from the App Store or from Google Play, and there's info on, open cases. There's media alerts that are on there for missing people or, current traffic situations. There's also inmate lookup, there's a crime map, and there's a map of accidents. And you can contact the school resource officers through that too. So if there's something in your school district, you can look up the district, and there's an email right to the officer that you can submit. So lots of great information right in the palm of your hands. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me or the sheriff over there. So it's another great resource.
That's awesome. Thank you. Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. So Mandy and Wayman today will be getting an email from the Michigan Association of Counties. We have updated our website. If you're like me, I've got a username and a password for everything I do. So MAC has updated the website. The username and password will be a generic one for Kent County. So any employee or any commissioner can now log under the same unit. It's a complete overhaul. It'll go live tomorrow. Also, we've added ability to text update county commissioners. I think this year, with the new governor and the legislature and the issues that are facing us, things are going to be fluid. The text updates will allow you to contact your reps and senators directly via text message. The option is also there to personalize that message, because I know if I was a rep or senator, I wouldn't want 300 things that say the identical thing. So those will be coming. Hopefully you guys forward that to everyone. If you have any questions, you can contact me or Mac directly on that. At the legislative conference yesterday, we once again recognize legislators who have stood up for counties on issue. Once again, for the past 2 years, we've recognized the West Michigan legislature, and that was Pete McGregor for his work on the child care within the state of Michigan. So I had a chance to run into him twice yesterday. So he's a strong advocate, not just for us, but for all counties. And more on a sad note, with counties, we're often compared, and we compare ourselves to Oakland County. I heard yesterday that L. Brooks Patterson, which should be known by everyone, did his last press conference. He is gravely ill. I had an opportunity to have dinner with 2 former state reps from Oakland that now sit on the Oakland board. And they said the one quality he had was his ability to draw good people into Oakland County and the results that they got from those people. And I think that's a trait of a lot of counties in Michigan, with ours included. I mean, what makes county government really good is the staff that we're able to attract and keep and recruit to come into the county. So hats off not just to our county, but all counties in Michigan, and maybe keep Al Brooks in your prayers. One of the commissioners told me, he said his greatest ability was to go from 0 to DEFCON 5 in 10 seconds. So, and then on a final note about the pit bulls, I'm glad Commissioner Morgan wants to hear more about them. The American Bulldog family of dogs has been probably the most villainized group of dogs, and there's different dogs within that breeds. They all seem to be pit bulls. Last I heard, they love driving in trucks and they love sitting in ambulances. So if Roger Morgan would like to adopt one, I would pick up his fees. And that's my report.
Thanks for that.
No problem.
That might be my favorite miscellaneous. Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. Two quick things, and unfortunately Julie's not here. I want to point out, and I don't know if anyone else felt the way, but how often do we have someone that comes who has had some not so very nice things to say in a sometimes very pointed manner, although I appreciate that in someone, but to take the time to come and tell us that, wow, this was really good. And I know she's not here, but I just wanted to say thank you, and I will get that word to her. But I like hearing, and I like learning, and I certainly like knowing we've done something well. So Adam, please take that back to your group, because that was quite a positive thing, obviously. And the second is I am having my other foot done tomorrow, not that you all are dying to know that, but I am certain that that is why Mandy asked me to do all of the whatever it was that I did, the resolutions today, because I will be 2 weeks on bed rest and will not be able to get my, well, my husband says 100,000 words in every day. So if anyone is bored and would like to just listen to me, you don't even have to comment back, please give me a call, because I will be in my bed for 2 weeks, not moving and not doing much of anything. So I would love to hear from people.
All right. Commissioner Womack.
Yes, I just would like to thank Wayman Britt and his staff for the meeting they put together yesterday, whereas commissioners were able to meet with the Chambers of Commerce, and just to see Adam from the Health Department there, our sheriff there, and having a chance to talk to communities that all communities have issues, desires, and wants and needs from our government, but getting a chance to get out in the community, because a lot of time the community comes here and we have a limited time to really get our business done, listen to public comment. We're not always able to talk to them about the issues they bring. And I think the sheriff gave them a lot of great information, and just even the sheriff putting on the line an opportunity, they have a chance to help get young people, which they agreed to want to go into law enforcement, because our sheriff in a nonpartisan position, just trying to help all people and understand the employment desires of those communities, and just the different issues that were able to come up there. It was just a brilliant meeting, and I just want to thank the Kent County staff once again for being proactive in that situations and really stepping out to division and burden and areas in this community, showing people that Kent County is accessible.
Thank you. Commissioner Breeve, you had another miscellaneous.
Thank you, Chair. Briefly, I just wanted to alert everyone, I'm sure you've seen it on the news, over in Oakland County, there's been a number of measles cases that have shown up, and I just want to encourage you, if you haven't been vaccinated, the vaccine is highly effective and very safe, and you can get it, from your doctor or from the health department. And it's just my goal to promote vaccines in the community, and knowing that measles is something that's been around for a long time and has been nearly eradicated. It's something completely preventable, and we have the means to do it. So get yourself, your children vaccinated. Very important.
Thank you. That's an important update. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you. just get a little nervous when I hear my name and Pitbull in the same sentence. I want everybody to know that I'm a puppy. I'm playful as a puppy, really. So, thank you.
Any other commissioner miscellaneous? I have a few items to wrap up today. Okay, real quick, reminder, we have our strategic planning session right after this over at DeVos Place across the street in the Monroe Room. So I hope you can make that. We have our State of the County address, which I will probably bring up a couple more times, but that is going to be May 2nd, and that's the first time we've ever done this. This was I think, a great idea by our administrator, and it's just, in our strategic planning, we heard a lot about, what does the county commission do, and what does the county commissioner do, and what services do the county provide versus township and state and local. So I just think this is a good way for us to communicate to the community, and I encourage you, if you have specific people that you want to invite, we do have limited space, so please get with Lori or Wayman on people that you'd like to bring and make sure they're there. And again, I will remind you again, it'll be May 2nd, and we are going to talk about it a little bit in strategic planning after this. Real quick, in keeping with my commitment to try to give you deadlines, since we are focusing on some federal legislative priorities, it'd be great if you could have those to Commissioner Steck by April 12th. So again, April 12th. Federal input, federal priorities, any input. I will be requesting some lead focus and seeing if we can get some grants brought in and some other things, but that's one of my priorities. But if you have others, please give them to Commissioner Steck. Two quick last things. I want to thank the board and the staff for their very generous donations to my family after my stepdad's death. He was very instrumental in a orphanage in Liberia, and we were able to raise several $1,000s from that. And it was kids that, he got connected through the church, and it's children who show up at this orphanage that are completely orphaned, no clothes, shoes, food, and they provide not only shelter and food, but education, and it's a very important organization. So I want to thank you all for that. And then last, I want to recognize Commissioner Voorhees, because it's his 61st wedding anniversary today. Yeah. And in this day and age, that's a pretty big accomplishment. So with that, I will call on Commissioner Morgan for adjournment.
Thank you, Chair. I move to adjourn to Thursday, April 11th, 2019.
Support. Moved and supported by Commissioner Sparks. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.